And they've told me that there are many universes and many experiences, and God works with different rules in different places. Like one thing that struck me is they said, death is just part of the game here. It's not everywhere. You know, I don't know. It's hard for me to talk about them unless I have their words right in front of me, because they're so beyond my mortal thinking, let's say. But they talk about God awake and God aware, as opposed to most of us who are God asleep or unaware. Just a matter of waking up, remembering, that kind of thing.
Now, on this show, Venus, we've talked about Abraham, that is spoken through Esther Hicks.
Right, Hicks.
And would you compare the beings to something similar to Abraham, or is it different?
You know what? I have read their works in the past, and they're with Hay House, too. And I've tried not to read anything of anybody's or be involved with it while all this was coming through, because I didn't want to be, get it mixed up with anything, to let this come through purely. So to compare it, I think it may be similar but different.
Venus, there's a call on the line. Are you ready to take another call? Sorry to interrupt you.
Sure, that's all right. That's
okay.
Good. We'll go to something lighter here, because what I'm getting into is pretty deep.
All right. CITR, you're on the air. What's your question?
Hi. I've been having a lot of dreams lately.
Can you speak up, please? I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been having a lot of dreams lately about this person in my life who I used to know, and I was wondering if you could give me any insight on that. And
well, I'll try. What's your name?
Sorry?
What's your first name?
Oh, Robert.
Robert, you're going to have to yell into the phone, because you sound like you're in a cavern somewhere.
Well, that's how I feel, like spiritually. I feel as though I'm in a cavern.
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's so funny how these things work out.
I know.
Okay,
anyway,
Robert, who was
I've
this
been
person
having
in
these
your
dreams
life?
about the talking heads. So could you please play some talking heads, perhaps?
What?
Could you perhaps play?
Hello?
Okay, I think he was wanting to request a song. So maybe if you're going to listen to Scotty's Scenic Drive coming up in a few minutes, you can call and request a song there. But thank you for your call. This is Synchronicity on CITR 101.9 FM. And we're talking with Venus Andrecht right now, host of Hay House Radio's Dear Venus. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what was going on. He wanted to hear some talking heads, so that's for another show.
My work is hard enough without getting a music, too. I wonder, a lot of people ask me how I knew that I was able to do all these different things, because a lot of people want to do it. Do you have any interest in me mentioning or talking about that?
Yes, I'm wondering how one can become more connected and more psychic, more aware.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I get that a lot. A lot of us want that. And, okay, where to start? Well, I was born a medium. I didn't know that. I've since been told that. I didn't know what was wrong with me, frankly. When I was around 8 years old, there were a lot of troubles in my family. I had a sister who was in the hospital for a year, and she was supposed to die, which she didn't do. But there was a lot of sickness. My mother was sick for 8 years, and she almost died. And my grandmother was around, and she was dying. And it was very difficult. And I was depressed all the time, and I was sick a lot. And this continued as I grew up and all through my life. And it wasn't until I was like 38 when a friend of mine who was quite a bit older told me, she's a practicing psychic, and she said, you know, Venus, I know what's wrong with you. She says, you're an empath. You're like a sponge. You pick up everybody's thoughts and feelings. You know what people are thinking, and you take on their feelings. I said, really? I didn't believe her. I just said, really? She said, yeah, that's true, and that's why you have all these personal problems. So I thought about it, and I went to a mall, and I sat on a bench, and I practiced. As different people walked by, I pretended that I would go into their heads, and I would pretend to feel and be them. And by golly, it worked. I would go in, and I'd feel all this stuff, and I'd pull out into myself, and there was a major difference. And I kept saying, oh, my gosh, now I get it. Oh, my gosh, it's true.
Wow.
Yeah, and that really helped me to know that. And I started to understand what was wrong with me, let's say. And the mediumship thing, that wasn't explained to me for a while after. I went, I used to go to all kinds of psychics and mediums and spiritualist churches. It was just like a hobby. I didn't realize I was in training. But I went to this one church once. The medium was there. Gosh, we were there for like 3 hours all in a circle. And she kept going to each person in a circle and giving them messages. And every time she came to me, she'd stop in front of me, look at me, and then she'd move on. And by the third time, I was thinking, oh, my gosh, I must not have a future. I'm going to die. She wouldn't tell me anything. So finally, at the end of the evening, and I was a wreck, she took me by the hand and pulled me into the center of the circle and said, I want you to meet a born medium. Well, that was news to me. And she pulled me aside later and she said, never stop doing the work. She said, always do the work. Well, I took her seriously. And many years ago, gosh, it's been like 25 years ago or something, I started practicing. I would practice on my friends. I said, can I go into your head? Can I see what's going on there? They'd tell me they had a physical problem, and I'd go in and see if I could help it. And, they'd tell me they felt things changed in their lives. I was right about what I was seeing. Gradually, I started to get confidence. But then I noticed I was giving people a lot of advice, but they weren't taking my advice, So at some point
that so
I said,
frustrating?
I think I'll start charging. So I started charging $1 a minute. I charge more now, by the way, but then they started listening to me and taking my advice. And I have people still that I started working with 25 years ago who call me. I used to do work in person, but, that's just too overwhelming. It's much easier for me now to do it over the phone because I can do more quickly, more easily. But that's how I started. And it just, when I got my divorce from the second husband, I had to find a way to make a living because what I'd been doing I wasn't able to do anymore for various reasons. And so I got my degree as a hypnotherapist. And I started working with people hypnosis, and at that time they would come to my house, but they kept saying they wanted readings, they wanted me to look at things, they wanted to know about their love lives, and I'd say, I can't do that kind of thing, but they insisted. So I talked to Summer about it, who was quite young then, and we decided that I wasn't going to hurt anybody, and I had good common sense, and I certainly wasn't any worse than anybody else out there. So I started doing them. I was forced into it because I had to make a living. And it worked, and all kinds of splendid and stupefying things started to happen. And so I've been doing this work for like good 25 years now. Wow. On purpose.
So is there a way that people can know if they have that kind of gift? I've heard people say that anyone can be psychic.
Yeah, well, anyone can, but it's just like we're born with certain abilities. Like some people can draw and some people can't, and so anybody can learn to draw. Some people, it's a much more easy, it's an easier thing to do. It's the same with the psychic stuff. Sure, you can build it up like a muscle. You can keep working on it. Sometimes people call me, I work with them, and they want to know that, and then I'm able to go in them and see if they have the abilities, and if so, which ones.
Can you do that with me?